You can tell a lot about a person by the way they spend the day of their death. How would you spend the day of your death? Rabbi Salanta, who was the founder of the Muslim movement, who had dedicated his entire life to introspection and working on himself and becoming a better person, everything that he had. He was dying in a town where no one knew who he was. And he's lying on his deathbed, and he doesn't have much more time on this earth, and he obviously wants to make his peace with God. And he sees that the town has already hired someone to be a shomer, to watch his body after it dies. And he sees that the person is nervous. And he turns to the person and says, "You're nervous because you're going to be left with a dead body?" And the man says to him, "Yes." And Rabbi Salanta says, "Don't worry, and don't be afraid." And he starts to reassure him. And with his last moments on earth, instead of spending it on himself, he spends it making this person feel better. That's how he ended his life. Shimon Schwab, who was the leader of the German community, and then later of the German community here in in America, who survived. If you know anything about German Jews, they're not very mystical types of people. They're pretty straightforward, you know. When they talk about, you know, a Yekesh Yid, you know what I mean, a German Jew, they're not in, you know, too much mysticism and that sort of thing. Pretty straightforward. When Shimon Schwab went to see the Chavetz Chaim, and the Chavetz Chaim was also not known to be something of a mystic. He was pretty straightforward too. And when Shimon Schwab brought his little brother, Reb Meir, to get a bracha from the Chavetz Chaim. And the Rebbetzin said, "The Chavetz Chaim will be with you in a few minutes. He's learning." And he finishes and he closes his Gemara and he comes over to the two boys. And the little boy, Reb Meir Schwab, says, "Who are you learning with?" Chavetz Chaim does a double take. He says, "Shimon," he says, "You saw anybody there?" He says, "No." So he smiles, he says, "Tell me, who did you see?" He said, "I don't know, it was like an old man with a long white beard and a robe and a turban." And the Chavetz Chaim smiles and he says to Shimon Schwab, "You better watch that younger brother of yours. He's a little young to be seeing Eliyahu Hanavi." It's the fact that this is the Chavetz Chaim and Shimon Schwab which makes this story so fascinating. But Meir Schwab was living in Lakewood. And he was already pretty advanced in years. I heard this story from my wife's uncle, Michael Klughout, in Lakewood. He said he was already somewhat on in years. And this young Avreich, young married fellow in the yeshiva, wanted to ask his advice about something. And they were trying to work out their schedule, and it came out he had that Monday night. So he says to him, "Okay, we can meet Monday night, but it has to be before 7 o'clock. We have to be done by 7 o'clock. He says, "Okay." Afterwards, he told somebody, "You know, I made an appointment to see with Schwab." He says, "Why would you do that? He's so old. You know, it's difficult for him. Talk to somebody else." He says, "Yeah, but I think he could really help me." "Okay, so you'll talk to somebody else. What do you have to bother him for?" So he calls up and he cancels the appointment, and he says, "Okay, but if you change your mind, I still have Monday night available, but only till 7 o'clock. "Okay." Tuesday morning, he walks in the yeshiva and he sees a sign. The Reb Meir Schwab passed away Monday night at 7 o'clock. Now, how he knew he was going to die at 7 o'clock, I don't know. I guess you can see Eliyahu Hanavi, you can figure out that kind of stuff. But the fact that he knew that this was the last time he had on earth, and he was willing to spend it helping somebody else who had a problem. And so here's Rosh Hashanah. And he's on his deathbed, and he's surrounded by his students, and it's time for him to make his peace with God, and he has only one concern: I want to bring down this Zohar. And with his death, as he dies, he manages to bring down and reveal this tremendous light of hidden Torah. Because he doesn't give up. Because as long as there's life, there's hope.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.